my name is Shayla. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I talk about motherhood, I talk about pregnancy. I've got an 18-month-old. If you have Instagram, we can connect. Hey Shayla on Instagram. I just started a podcast, and so I'm interviewing all of my gurus that I have connections with and learn all the things from them and then share that with you. Today's video, we are talking about why I don't love breastfeeding. So I feel like this is a little bit of a touchy subject. I'm still breastfeeding my 18-month-old. I never really had a goal. People are always like, I just want to breastfeed till 1 year. I never set a goal. I just was like, we'll see how breastfeeding goes. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our journey, our breastfeeding journey, and then why I feel this way. I made a video about night weaning. I nurse her to sleep, but she doesn't nurse again till like 5 a.m. And that was like 3 days of crying and tantrums. And now she's super chill, but I still nurse to sleep. In the night weaning video, I mentioned that when she was able to just snuggle me and not breastfeed, that I felt this super strong bond with her because she wanted me and not just my boob. And there were a few moms that were unable to breastfeed or their breastfeeding journey got cut short. And they were like, that's a really interesting perspective. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're doing great.
Thank you so much. I feel like a lot of moms sort of identify with breastfeeding, like they are a breastfeeding mom, which is great, and I'm super excited for those moms. I don't feel like I'm one of them. I feel like I breastfeed because I know that it's good for her, not because I love it, and not because I have this like super intense bond with her when she breastfeeds. I don't know that I ever did. When she's little, they say she nurses and she looks into your eyes and you get this intense bond and like, kinda, but I felt a stronger bond with her. She would just snuggle me and just like we could snuggle and fall asleep. So first, let me tell you about our breastfeeding journey. As soon as the cord was cut, I brought her up to my boob and she latched. Something that's super interesting. I'm like the queen of interesting facts that I like to share with everybody. Your boob releases a smell similar to amniotic fluid. So when your baby comes out, they're attracted to your boob. That's why your nipples get darker too, so that they can like find the boob because they can't really see that well. So they go to the boob because it smells like the amniotic fluid, which is familiar, and because it's darker than everything else. So she latched right away. I would recommend that if you are able to do that. Obviously, like with C-sections or if there is an emergency or something and it's not possible, fine, try and do it as soon as you can. I remember there was a nurse in the hospital that looked into my soul and was like, if you want to breastfeed, make sure you do not give up for the first 2 weeks. Got it, lady. That was really intense. She's right, because the first 2 weeks are like getting your nips chapped. Like they get, the first 2 weeks are so hard, but please, if you want to breastfeed, talk to a lactation consultant. Talk to one in the hospital, that's great, but when I was in the hospital and I talked to one, I was just like dazed and confused and tired and just pushed this human out of my body. And she gave me a pamphlet and I had no idea what, like 5 minutes later I was like, I don't know, she talked about breastfeeding. Then when I went to my pediatrician, she actually was a lactation consultant, which is different. Pediatricians have way less training on breastfeeding than an actual lactation consultant. So make sure that you either make sure that your pediatrician is a lactation consultant or that you can get referred to one. It will change the game. So she explained to me your nipple should look like a chapstick, not a lipstick. So it should be like a cylinder and the end should be more flat, where if it's looking flat this way, like lipstick, and coming to kind of like a point, it's a bad latch. If they latch on wrong, I would just be like, fine, she's latched, because the latch part was like the most painful part for me. So I was like, no, they said that if it's not latched right, you need to re-latch her. So I take her off and I try and get her to do it again. That teaches them how to latch properly. So look at your nipple, make sure it looks like a chapstick and not a lipstick. I would also use the haka. So I use the haka on one side and the babe on the other side, which created an oversupply. Because basically I was telling my body, yo, I got twins here. I'm feeding this haka and I'm feeding this baby. So I was like leaking all the time. I had to wear those pad inserts. I have reusable ones from Bamboobies, which are my favorite. I've tried a few different ones. I use their nighttime ones all the time because the heart-shaped ones don't make any sense to me. Literally, I was just always leaking. Is this how it's gonna be forever? Then I realized that I had an oversupply, which is not good for like formula, kind milk for the baby. I had to block feed. Only feed on this boob for like 4 hours, and then I would only feed on this boob for 4 hours. So it told my body, yo, we're not eating as much as we used to. My daughter did not take a bottle ever. I was the only one that could feed her. I think this is also why I did not like breastfeeding. I asked my husband, I was like, don't you want to... My husband, we're engaged, but with COVID, I just call him my husband now. I was like, do you want to feed her so you can like bond with her? And he's like, I don't feel like feeding her is bonding with her. And I was like, okay. It's way easier to just give her my boob and not have to clean everything. Well, that created, I don't want to say ball and chain, that's pretty gnarly. You're on a 3-hour window where you can't leave this baby. I was the one that nursed her to sleep for every nap, for every going down, forever. It just made it feel really unequal because Seth was excited to be a dad. And I was like, this is great. It's going to be equal partnership. It's not biologically. You make the milk. You wake up to the baby crying. Your husband doesn't have that feature. Literally, it's a biological thing. Same-sex couples, one will typically develop that and be like the primary person that wakes up to that sound, and the other one doesn't. It's so fascinating. More fun facts. That really made me not enjoy breastfeeding as much. But I kept doing it because I felt like it was the best thing for her health. If she's sick, the spit goes into your boob, they make antibodies, and then it helps the illness. And just making sure she got enough food. I didn't do it because I was like feeling this intense bond with her. So I guess I'm saying if you're a mom that ended up not being able to breastfeed, thank God for formula. Thank God. Because can you imagine? You'd either have to find another mom that would breastfeed your baby, or your baby wouldn't be fed. You can get milk. Facebook groups, it's called Human Milk for Human Babies, where you can like find somebody who wants to donate their milk. I donated mine because I had a ton of milk and she wouldn't take it out of a bottle. We just kept breastfeeding and it was working. And that's the thing, is it was working so well. It was so easy to put her to sleep. It was so easy to comfort her. So then we got to where I wanted to night wean her at 13 months. So I still nursed her to sleep, and then we just didn't nurse through the night, which was so helpful for both of us getting better consolidated sleep. It was a struggle. It was 3 days of crying, like I said. So now at 18 months, I'm kind of at a spot where I'm like, I'm kind of done. Like, I want Seth to be able to put her to sleep. I want to be able to go out for a night and have a babysitter watch her. I need a little bit of more shared responsibility because Seth is ready. He's like, yeah, let's do it. It's going to be a really hard couple of days transitioning her to having him put her to sleep instead of me. It's just so stressful, the build up to it. I'm ready to think about weaning. I got a book that I'm supposed to read her to kind of like talk to them and explain to them what's going on instead of just like cold turkey. I'd be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And that's what I did with her when we nursed. I was like, we'll nurse in the morning. Sometimes I would set an alarm so there's like a clear indicator of when was morning. Setting an alarm was kind of like, okay. And sometimes I would move it. Like if she was losing it at 4 a.m., but I wanted her to go till 5, I would maybe change it to 4:20. So she would lose it for 20 minutes and then she'd hear the alarm and know that that's when she got to eat. So I just wanted to make this video to give a different perspective of breastfeeding, because I think it's often glamorized as this like super incredibly beautiful thing, and for the first couple of weeks it's so uncomfortable and challenging, and I just didn't feel that like super intense bond. This is not a complaining video. I'm very grateful that our breastfeeding journey has been what it's been, but now I'm ready to move to the next phase. Curious to know what if this is a similar experience to you. If you're the mom that's like, no way, I love breastfeeding, tell me in the comments, because I need to know what it is. And no shame. Talk no shame why you absolutely love breastfeeding. If you wanted to breastfeed and you couldn't and you found this super comforting or helpful, please tell me that. If you're offended by anything I said, I'd love to hear that too, because I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to share my experience and kind of give a different perspective, because I feel like this perspective is not talked about a lot. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. And if you haven't checked out my podcast, please check it out. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.
I just need someone to actually meet me first in like, this is a mess. You didn't expect it to go like this. I'm so sorry you don't feel like yourself. Me neither. And it gets way better. And so that was like more of what I'm trying to do. Let's call it hard because that's what it is. But then also, once you acknowledge that, there is so much goodness in it.
Right.
It's just that the hard stuff catches us off guard, and then we can't
Yes.
even find our way into the good
Totally.
places.